Hey, welcome back to Lions and Warriors Return to Forever. I'm Emily Orchid, and we are picking up Matthew chapter 14. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report about Jesus. So this must be the second Herod, because we know the first Herod died, and then Joseph brought his family back from Egypt, including Mary and Jesus. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report about Jesus and said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him." So now it's skipped ahead. John the Baptist has already been beheaded, and in another one of the other three Gospels, they're going to detail what the assassination of John the Baptist looked like. But this is after John the Baptist has been killed. Again, starting from the top. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report about Jesus and said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him." He thinks that Jesus is John the Baptist come back from the dead. For Herod had laid hold of John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had said to him, "It is not lawful for you to have her." He told Herod, "You're not supposed to be with your brother Philip's wife." Common sense. And although he wanted to put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted John the Baptist to be a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was celebrated, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. So the daughter of Herodias is dancing all sexy for Herod the king. And he likes it. Therefore, he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. So she, the daughter of Herodias, the one that was dancing around, so she, having been prompted by her mother, said, "Give me John the Baptist's head on a platter." All because she did a dance for him. He said, "You can have whatever you want." And the king was sworn, nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he commanded it to be given to her. So he went along with it and ordered John the Baptist's head to get taken off just because this young girl demanded it. So he sent, I'll read that again. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he commanded it to be given to her, the head to be given to her. So he sent and had John beheaded in prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. These people are barbaric. Oh my gosh. Trying to see. So, and she brought it to her mother. Then his disciples came and took away the body of John the Baptist and buried it and went and told Jesus. When Jesus heard about it, he departed from there by boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the multitudes heard it, they followed him on foot from the cities. And when Jesus went out, he saw a great multitude, and he was moved with compassion for them and healed the sick. So, even he's all upset because John the Baptist just been beheaded and murdered, and he went to grieve and be by himself. But all the people who believed in him, they wanted to follow him, and he had compassion, and he healed them anyway in the middle of his grieving for John the Baptist. And when Jesus went out and he saw the great multitudes, and he was moved with compassion for them and healed their sick. When it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. Send the multitudes away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves food." But Jesus said to them, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "We have here only 5 loaves and 2 fishes." He said, "Bring them here to me." Then he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitudes. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments of the leftovers that remained. Now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. So he's telling the disciples, get in the boat, go around the other side, and I'll meet you there in a little bit. And then he's saying goodbye and sending off the multitudes. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking out on the sea. So this is another miracle. He's walking on the sea, on the water, to meet them in the boat that's rocking to and fro in all the ways. And when the disciples saw Jesus walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "Is it a ghost?" And they cried out for fear. And immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." So he said, "Come." And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. The thing to see here, I think, is that as long as Peter had his eyes fixed and focused on Jesus, he was safe and he could walk on the water. But as soon as he took his focus off Jesus and started focusing on the water and the waves and everything else going on around him in the world, he started to sink. He was losing, he took his focus off Jesus and the faith he could have in Jesus. So it tells us, that as long as we're staying focused on Jesus, we're going to be protected. We got to keep our eyes on him. Okay. And when they had got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those who were in the boat came and worshipped him, Jesus, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent out into all that surrounding region, brought to him all who were sick. They knew what he could do, so they were telling everybody, bring all your sick people here. because he's gonna help us. And begged him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched it were made perfectly well. Then the scribes and the Pharisees, who were from Jerusalem, came to Jesus, saying, "Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread." Jesus answered and said to them, "Why do you also transgress the commandment of God because of your tradition? For God commanded, saying, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, 'Whoever says to his father or mother, whatever profit you might have received from me as a gift to God, then he need not honor his father or mother. Thus you have made the commandment of God no effect by your tradition." Let me read that again. I think what he's saying to them is, you're supposed to honor your mother and father, but he's pointing out to them that you think your mother and father need to honor you just because you were born. So that's not honoring your mother and father. So again, they said to him, "You know what? The disciples aren't washing their hands before they eat," and they thought that was breaking some kind of rule. And he answered them, and reiterating, he answered and said to them, "Why do you also transgress the commandment of God because of your tradition? For God commanded, saying, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, 'Whoever says to his father or mother, whatever profit you might have received from me is a gift to God.' How arrogant. Then he need not honor his father or mother. Thus you have made the commandment of God of no effect by your tradition. Hypocrites! Well did Isaiah prophesy about you, saying," and here he is quoting what Isaiah said hundreds of years before in the book of Isaiah. "These people draw near to me," quoting what Isaiah was quoting Jesus saying, because me is Jesus. "These people draw near to me with their mouth," meaning the Pharisees and the Sadducees, "and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me, and in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men." So they're preaching these stupid commandments, like what he quoted them saying that their parents should be grateful that they had them, whatever. When Jesus had called the multitudes to himself, he said to them, "Hear and understand, not what goes into the mouth defiles a man, but what comes out of the mouth," with your talking, "this defiles a man." Then his disciples came and said to him, "Do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this saying?" But he answered and said, "Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Let them alone. They are blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind leads the blind, both will fall into a ditch." Then Peter answered and said to him, "Explain this parable to us." So Jesus said, "Are you also still without understanding? Okay, do you not yet understand that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and is eliminated? but those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, the talking, the words, and if it's bad, and they defile a man. I'll say it again, but those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile a man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile a man. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory there. Okay. Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, and these are heathen Gentile places. Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region. Well, I don't know, because they said stay in Israel. I can't remember. I wish I had a map. Departed to the region of Tyre. Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan. So yeah, this might have been outside of Israel. A woman from Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed." But he answered her not a word. Oh, because she wasn't an Israelite. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she cries out after us." But he answered and said, "I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So he's saying who he was sent for, the lost sheep of Israel. But he answered and said, "I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Then she came and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, help me." But he answered and said, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." He's telling her, the children's bread is the deliverance. Remember I told you the deliverance of the demons is the children's bread, the daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread. So he's saying she's asking for help, and she's from the land of Canaan. She's not an Israelite. And again, he says, I'm reiterating, it is not good to take the children's bread, the Israelites' deliverance bread, and throw it to the little dogs. And he's saying you're basically a dog because you're not Israel. You're not from, Abraham's seed, Isaac and Jacob. Jacob became Israel and fathered the tribes of Israel, and what came from, Adam's seed. That's the line of Jesus. That's Israel. Because Adam and Eve were created on the 8th day, and all the rest of the people of the world were created on the 6th day. So he's saying, I came for the seed of Israel, which is the Adam seed. And he's saying, it is not good to take the children's bread, the deliverance for the children of Israel, and throw it to the little dogs, which are the people that are not Israel. Oh, but this girl, she's clever. But he answered, and she said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table." And that's bread, the crumb bread. Then, she even had the faith. Then Jesus answered and said to her, "Oh, woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire." she showed him, and he's like, yeah, you're right. And you have faith even though you are not from Israel, and I'm gonna grant you the deliverance of, whatever demon killed your daughter. Or the girl had the demon. She wasn't dead. She had a demon. Okay. Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon possessed. So they had that conversation, and she said, yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. So now he's performed a miracle for this person that is not an Israelite, not of the seed of David, not of the seed of Adam. Jesus departed from there, skirted the Sea of Galilee, and went up on the mountain and sat down there. Then great multitudes came to him, having with them the lame, the blind, mute, maimed, and many others, and they laid them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. All of them, he healed them. So the multitude marveled when they saw the mute speaking, the maimed made whole, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel. Now Jesus called his disciples to himself and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now continued with me 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I do not want to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. Then his disciples said to him, where could we get enough bread in the wilderness to fill such a great multitude? Jesus said to them, how many loaves do you have? And they said, 7 and a few little fish. So he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground, and he took the 7 loaves and the fish, and gave thanks, broke them, and gave them to his disciples. And the disciples gave to the multitude. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 7 large baskets full of the fragments that were left. Now those who ate were 4,000 men, besides men and children. And he sent away the multitude, got into the boat, and came to the region of Magdala. Where are we at here? I can get this done here. Chapter 16. Then the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and testing him, asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said to them, when it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites, you know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. Again, Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. And Nineveh repented, and he's saying, he's reminding them that he's already made that point before. So he's not going to give them a sign, because that's all they want is a sign. And he showed people all those signs, and they didn't believe him, even with all the miracles. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. Now when his disciples had come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Jesus said to them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The leaven is like the yeast. The leaven like ruins the bread. And I think also leaven represents time wasted, and they were on the move. They had to eat bread, but they didn't have time to be hanging out waiting for leaven to rise the bread and, you know, make it thick and fluffy and everything. So that's something else to also consider about leavened bread, is that they didn't have the time to hang out and wait for it to rise. But the leaven also represents you know, just the mixing in of things that don't need to be there. The leaven in the bread, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the tares. I think it represents all of that. Don't quote me on that, but I should know this, the leaven in the bread, but I'm pretty sure it's those two things I just said. Then Jesus said to them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the... Oh, it is what I just said. Now when his disciples had come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Jesus said to them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. All that extra stuff that they don't need to hear. All those extra rituals that just like aren't even of God. They're just stupid stuff, wasting your time on stupid stuff. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. But Jesus, they're missing the point. They're thinking we forgot the bread, and Jesus is upset with us because we forgot the bread. But that was not what his point was, because he said, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, all the extra crap, like religion. God, what did Pastor Arnold Murray always say? Christianity is not religion, it's reality. That's the difference. And Jesus said to them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. But Jesus, being aware of it, said to them, oh, you of little faith, why do you reason among yourselves? Because you have brought no bread. Do you not yet understand or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up? Nor the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets you took up? How is it that you do not understand that? I did not speak to you concerning bread. Because he could make bread out of thin air. It didn't matter that they forgot the bread. Get with the program. How is it that you do not understand that I do not speak to you concerning bread, but to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees? The extra crap that you don't need in the bread, that you don't need in your heart, that you don't need in your life. That was my improvising, just adding. I'm not adding, I'm just saying that as a thought outside of the Bible. Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven. Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread. It was an analogy, but to the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. The doctrine, their religion, their rituals, their BS. When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? So they said, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, but who do you say that I am? And Simon Peter, who's the same guy, Simon Peter answered and said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus answered and said to him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, For flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades, hell, shall not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So that goes back to like deliverance prayers. We can, in Jesus' name, bind, cage, and chain, and we can also loose. We can loose people from the power of demons, excuse me, in Jesus' name. Then he commanded his disciples that they should tell no one that he was Jesus the Christ. From that time, Jesus began to show to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised the third day. So now he's telling them, be quiet, don't say who I am, because the time has not come yet, but it is coming when I'm going to be crucified. So he's just giving them the heads up right here. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke Jesus, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, because this is the devil inside of Peter, like a demon saying this, like, no, this isn't going to happen to you, but it had to happen. So surprisingly, then but he turned and said to Peter, I'll say it again. Then Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you." When this was really something the devil made him say. But he turned and said to Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men." You know, yeah, of course Peter didn't want him to die, but it just had to happen. He had to die for our sins. That was the whole point. Then Jesus said to him, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." That's what he wants. If anyone wants to come after me, let him deny himself, deny the things he wants in his fleshly body, and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. That's the second time we've heard him say that in this book of Matthew. For whosoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each according to his works. Assuredly, I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So we'll leave it at that. That's the end of chapter 16 in the great gospel book of Matthew. Next time we'll pick it up with chapter 17. Thanks again for joining me. I am Emily Orchid at Lions and Warriors Return to Forever. Have a great evening. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.